Welcome to Woodshop 101, where everything is made up and the points don't matter. Now meet the yin and yang of woodworking and the lady that keeps them in line, Jeremy, Drew, and Sam.
Welcome to episode 56. Tonight we're going to do a round robin and ask each other some questions. Kind of like we're going to interrogate each other. We're joined tonight again by our guest host, Steve Carmichael of the Carmichael Workshop. What's going on, Steve?
Oh, not much. How's everybody doing?
Well, it's doing. I was hoping it was Thursday.
I'm fine. Thanks for asking, Steve.
No, we don't want to know. We don't want to know how you are. we know how you are. You're running late.
Jeremy don't care about me.
Look, you ran Sam off, so no.
What?
Nah. So, yeah, what have you been up to, Drew?
I'm still trying to get caught up. Let's just say that my planner, you remember the planner I bought?
You haven't used it yet, or?
I haven't written anything down in it yet.
My OCD for my planner has kept me up the last week. So I got everything done I needed to before I left to go pick up my wife and kids, but I didn't do anything after. So since we got back on Sunday evening, last Sunday, not like 2 days ago, like 8 days ago when we got back, I haven't done anything. And so I got so far behind. I try to like schedule my videos and my articles a week in ahead, and I'm releasing a video tomorrow that I'm finishing editing tonight when it should have been done last Wednesday. But I'm trying to play catch up, and I see those little open blocks there, Drew, and I have to stay up until I can get them checked off. So tonight I'm finally getting the last one checked off tonight, only to turn around and start working fast and furious tomorrow to get back on track.
I had to delay a video last week because I wasn't fully caught up with. But the deal is that I'm working on those epoxy crosses, so I'm kind of at the mercy of how fast they dry before I can start another one.
Yeah.
So
how long is it taking for those to dry?
Well, if I mix it up properly and not screw up the mixture, it takes about 24 hours so I can rip it out of the mold. But I don't always get out there after 24 hours. So it's kind of my fault too.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely understand that. And you'll see, because the video that's coming out tomorrow is actually going to be my epoxy resin inlay. And yeah, I think I let it set a good 18 or 20 hours before it was like fully cured enough to level it out. So
Drew, after making these crosses, do you think this epoxy project thing is something you'll continue to do for other stuff, or is this a one-time only deal?
I wouldn't say it's one time. I think I have an idea to work it into other projects, like doing inlays. I have an idea for the gun case that I've got in the works. I was going to use the CNC machine to engrave the top with my logo, and use Jeremy's suggestion about dyeing the epoxy a different color. But there are certain sections of my logo that are different colors, so I would have to engrave one section, fill it with a color, level it out, then engrave the next section that's a different color, fill that, and level it out until my logo is on the top, all in 3 different colors.
Cool.
I think you should do it.
I think so too. I think so too. But it'll be a while to do. So.
And you'll need to look at it. And so watch the video that I released, because I do it I dye it with trans tint. I know there's like some powder mixes and stuff out there, but a lot of times those powders don't fully dissolve, and you get kind of a hazy color or a swirly color, and it doesn't like fully mix. So I use trans tint liquid dye, and it's quite expensive. It's about $20 a bottle, but it's concentrate. So I think I used about 10 or 15 drops, and it did plenty of color. But if you were going to use that to dye a project, it's concentrated, so you just mix it with like some shellac, or you mix some drops in like a polyurethane or something to stain it. But it to do 3 colors, you're looking at probably about $60 for all 3 of the bottles. But they do have blue, they do have bright red, and what's your other color? White, black?
No, it's that kind of, I don't know, like an orange, that orangey yellow, that boom.
Yeah, and then you can mix it, like you could get your yellow, and then you can mix your own, like orangish yellow. So they may have the color. They got tons of colors. So.
Well, that was going to be my next attempt in the epoxy world. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But I've had it in my head for the past week on doing that particular project. So I was like, well, I guess since I've already been rooked into learning how to use the lathe, that might ought to try my hand at other stuff too.
Yeah, and when you do it, I started to scrape it to level it with a card scraper, and sometimes it kind of gums up. Epoxy, it doesn't give you as smooth of a shaving as if you were to scrape wood. I just took some 60 grit sandpaper on my random orbital, and it leveled it in just a few minutes. And then you progressively work up your grits, and then I think I went all the way up to like 320, and then put clear coat on it, and it came out looking nice.
I wonder if I could run it through my drum sander.
Probably. I
might take it down really quick.
Thing, yeah. Yep. I just don't have a drum sander, I'm not privileged.
Me either.
That
was a Craigslist find. Thank you very much.
Well, it seems like everywhere I move, Craigslist is not very good. Or they don't sell good tools on it. So, what else do you have?
Oh, it took me a while for that. I am trying to gear up for my first Little Boomers episode.
Okay.
With
your daughter.
Yep, she and I are going to get out into the shop for the first time on video. Well, second time I should say on video, because we did that butterfly house a while back. But we're going to make a bird feeder with a wine bottle and like 3 or 4 pieces of wood. Just real easy pocket screw project.
Cool.
So I'll probably do the cutting, and she'll help me with the pocket screws, and we'll put it all together. So it ought to be a real quick and easy project for parents to get out in the shop with their kids to do.
Awesome. What do you got going on, Steve?
Well, I think last time we talked, I was getting ready for a scroll saw class I was going to teach. So I did that last week, and it went really well. They liked the projects I came up with. So today I am rendering the video for that. I'm showing all 10 projects in one video. It's going to be about 12 minutes long, so hope it's not too long, but 10 projects in it. They go by pretty fast in 12 minutes. But I'm also finalizing the plans for that. I put them together in like an ebook that I'm going to have up for purchase on my website. And the last time we talked, I think I was talking about making them, formatting them on legal size 8.5 by 14 paper. Mm-hmm. And I asked the class what they thought, and about half of them had that size paper at home. So I'm kind of wavering on that, and I might go back and put all those cutting diagrams, split them across 8.5 by 11 paper, just to make it easy for most people to use. So that's
nothing little tape can't do.
It's
gonna
tape them together.
I know it's a little more work, but have you thought about in that ebook providing both for whoever wants to use the legal size paper?
Yeah, I could. That's a good idea. I mean, I can do like the first half legal, second half letter size. So maybe I'll do that because I'll keep both. You know.
Yeah.
So,
Or just
so, yeah.
do or you could do like double versions of one, like and you could even split it into maybe 2 ebooks and sell. All right, here's your 8.5 by 11 ebook. Here's your legal size ebook, or just provide the 10 plans in standard paper and the 10 plans in legal size, and charge maybe $1 or $2 extra for increase the price a little bit, and it just gives people that different option. Because somebody like me, I would rather go buy the ream of paper than have to take two separate sheets together. It, in my opinion, just takes out that extra step that could potentially lead to error on me aligning templates properly. So
Yeah. A lot of them fit pretty nicely on the legal size. Whereas if I split them across the letter size, it's going to probably double the number of pages you'd have to print out. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a conundrum you have to work through, I guess, if you want to provide plans.
Yeah.
You could make it like one of those instruction manuals that, one half's English, half's Spanish. You can make the other half upside down, so you got to flip it over. And
Yeah.
Let's just make it complicated. Why don't we?
Right.
Isn't that what we do as woodworkers? We make everything overly complicated. So, that's pretty funny that you're saying that, because I'm actually rendering a video as soon as we hang up with this episode. I am finally getting the epoxy resin inlay video released. I think months ago, back at the beginning of spring, I released the memory box video that I partnered with Brusso Hardware to do, and I completely cut out that segment of epoxy resin inlay, mainly for the fact that I had partnered with TransTint for that, and that whole separate step is after culling it 2 or 3 different times, I got it down to 9 or 9.5 minutes. And I think it started out as a 25-minute video after I got edited it the first time. And so I got that completely separated, and I finally got it edited, and it's going to go live tomorrow. So if you're listening to this, it's going to be several days ago. I'm releasing it on Wednesday the 21st. So go check that out. And we'll put the link down in the show notes for that. And we'll put the link down in the show notes for Steve's latest video. And if Drew gets his little boomer video out by then, or his epoxy resin crosses. I think you're on mute there.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to try and have the epoxy crosses done this weekend. The video should be uploaded this weekend.
All right. Well, you want to start the engineering day?
I don't have my show notes. Let me see where they go. Oh, here they are.
I mean, if you don't remember the questions you're going to ask.
I wouldn't have, actually.
Really?
I need to look at them. Yeah.
I'm kind of winging it.
Yeah, I can tell. There's nothing on the show notes, and you get on to me for that crap.
Well, I got them tucked to my head. I didn't want to put them on there because then I didn't want you two to be able to prepare.
All right. Well, I'll just start with you then, since you're going to wing it.
Okay.
And you probably already seen what I typed, but
I'm actually trying to read it right now.
Basically, it's what was the light switch project that made you decide that woodworking was going to be your hobby or niche?
I don't know if I can narrow it down to one project. I can narrow it down to a time frame, and within that week time frame, there was several projects that got done. My dad came to visit me in Virginia back in like 2010, 2011 time frame, and I had just gotten all my tools that my grandfather had purchased for me before he passed away, like my table saw and stuff. And I didn't really know anything. Not that I didn't know how to use a table saw. I guess I was more intimidated by it, and I really didn't know much about woodworking. I'd done some DIY projects like molding and stuff like that. But the first thing we built is I had these plans from an old Lowe's used to put out these magazines or these little pamphlets like 3 times a year. One was like Lowe's creative decorating. Then there was like creative woodworking and something else. And in their creative woodworking one, there was like a little serving platter made out of tile and just like their dimensional lumber. And I had the plans probably a month or two, and I wanted to build it. My dad came up, and I was like, hey, I want to build this. And we tackled it together, and I was like, oh, man, this is really fun. I like making something. And I had some old license plates, and my dad was like, we should make an old dustpan out of a license plate. We had a version of what my grandfather did several years before that. And so we made our own version of that. And then like the next day it led into making like a half-lapped 2x4 cross with crushed tile on the top of it. So I would say like that week with like those 3 projects really like clicked. And then traveling all the time, I just kind of got hooked on like the Wood Whisperer. Watching his podcast through iTunes download, not really knowing much about the YouTube thing. And just like watching those got me inspired to like step up my game and get more into woodworking and try to do more. And then in 2012, I did my first furniture build. It was a dining room table, and that really sparked.
Not the one back there, is it?
No, that's why that's not done, because that's like
2012.
That's so many. I can't even tell you what number of dining room tables that is. But yeah, the first one, and then it really sparked me into doing furniture builds. So to answer your question, if you want one project, I would say it was the serving tray with tile that got me into like the whole building thing mindset.
That works. All right. Steve, did you ever take shop in school? And was it like junior high or high school? And did you have a favorite project that you did in school? Well, that's probably
no.
2 questions.
Yeah. We did not have a shop class in junior high or high school that I'm aware of. I know the high school had a vocational section that was kind of added on to the school while I was there, but I never really knew what classes were over there. So I didn't take any wood shop when I was in school. But to answer your question, as far as my most favorite project I did, when I was going to school around that time, I wanted a tree house. This was, I don't know, probably early middle school or even elementary school maybe. But I wanted a tree house, and I kept bugging my dad to make me a tree house. Well, the problem was in our backyard, we didn't have a tree that was suitable for a tree house. So, but one thing we did have was one of those metal swing sets that are kind of shaped like a sawhorse, They got the 2 legs on each end with the 2 bars that go across, and it's usually got monkey bars or swings hanging from it.
Yeah.
Well, my dad and we built a tree house and set it up on top of that swing set. And this tree house, it was about 6 feet wide and 6 feet long. So it overhung the two bars that were on top of the swing set, it overhung them by about 2 feet on each side. So we had to build braces. So, if I'm sitting on one side of the treehouse so that it wouldn't topple over onto the ground, So we worked all that out, and that was the coolest project because we built a ladder that goes up to the top of the swing set, and I could walk in this treehouse that was on top of this like A-frame metal swing set. It's pretty crazy. I've got a picture of it if y'all want to put it in the show notes so people can see, but it was pretty wild.
Yeah, absolutely.
I spent a lot of time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. It's very, very redneck looking, but it was pretty funny.
Yes.
Kind of like those redneck deer blinds.
Yeah. Can't imagine what the neighbors thought looking in our backyard and seeing this big tree house on top of a swing set. It's pretty cool.
Teetering back and forth.
Yeah. It was pretty solid. My dad knew what he was doing, as far as all the mechanical engineering stuff. Civil engineering, I guess, is what that would be.
Yeah, my dad's engineering would be, all right, son, now that we've got this set up there, I want you to climb up in there and walk to one side and see if it tips. If it tips, we need to work on that.
Well, maybe brace that one side.
Yeah. Eventually, we did take it off, put it on the ground, and just used it as a storage shed. So, yeah. But that was pretty cool. But, we did that together, so that was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
All
right, who's next?
You want to go, Steve?
Sure. All right, this question's for Drew. Who was your favorite teacher when you were in school, and why? And tell us a little bit about Drew in high school. What was Drew like in high school?
I would like to say that I was a jock, but I didn't do a lot of basketball stuff like I wanted to. I think I got rid of that in my junior high days. I had the outlook of wanting to go back to a small school because that was my forte. But I was in a pretty big school, at least for me, like 250 students in my graduating class. So I pretty much I didn't do a lot. I didn't do band. I didn't do sports anymore. I kind of did stuff outside of school, like Taekwondo. I did that for 12 years. But not really anything in school. I was more like a just to get by on my grades kind of thing. I think I graduated with a 3.0. That was as much effort as I put into my grades. I didn't have a favorite teacher in high school necessarily. I think a lot of my teachers were female. But there was one teacher in grade school that was the only guy teacher that I ever had, aside from shop, of course. But his name was Mr. Woods, and he was so laid back and such a man's man kind of guy that no matter what you did, it never embarrassed him, and he could always turn it around and embarrass you. There was one time we were having a spelling bee, and it was all, or a spelling test, I should say. It was all written on paper, and we were sitting in those desks that had those hollow centers, so you could put your books and stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I think I was sitting in like second chair from the front, and he had just called out a word for us to spell. And as I was writing it down, I had some gas that I needed to pass. And it didn't come out so quiet like with that hollow desk. And he heard it, and I was like, oh crap. And he looked up and he said, no passing gas in class. I was like, crap. I was trying to point at my friends and go, he did it. But it was always fun in his class. He was so laid back. It just made class fun. So Mr. Woods was probably my favorite teacher.
Cool.
That's
good story.
It's quite convenient, Mr. Woods, and you enjoy woodworking now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That worked out, didn't it?
All right. So, Jeremy, you ready for a question?
Absolutely.
All right. I think every guy would like to answer this question. But what was your first car that you ever had? And what do you wish your first car was?
All right. So my first car was a 1988 Ford F-150 single cab, long bed, 5.0 liter V8.
Wow.
Yes, but before you say wow, it was like a junkyard find. So my brother's like not quite 2 years older than me. And I was very big into building cars growing up. And so we found like this piece of junk truck and helped work on it. We got it running good enough for like him to drive it for like 2 years. And I think he paid like $1,200 for it, and we put in another like, I don't know, $500 or $1,000 maybe. I paid him like $600 for it when I turned 16, and then the next like 2 years, I like every waking moment, like I just rebuilt this truck from the ground up, like rebuilt the motor, all new interior. I painted it myself, and it, in fact, on I think it was my junior prom, I was late picking up my wife, which was my girlfriend at the time, for prom because I was too busy trying to get the last coat of paint on the truck so it can cure overnight while I'm at prom so I could spray clear on it the next day.
Priorities.
So I actually like went and picked up my dad's like 2001 Chevrolet like single cab pickup to go like take her to prom. And then I held on to that thing up until we got married, and I had gotten a new F-150 like back in 2005, and I wasn't sure. I wanted to keep it, but being young and moving across the country, I was living in New York at the time, I sold it. In fact, my parents still see it driving around my hometown every once in a while. I wish I would have kept it because the guy didn't take care of it after I did. But yeah, that was my first vehicle. And really like my first like instance into making or building.
Sounds like you learned a lot.
Oh, I did. Truck. Nobody in my family, like my dad, my brother, nobody's like very mechanically savvy. I learned everything from my uncle, which he at the time had he had two Corvettes. He had 1969 and like an 81. And the 69 again was like a junkyard find, and we rebuilt that thing from ground up, put a 454 in it. And so I pretty much learned everything from him on it. And he's the one that helped me paint it and everything. I would say if I could pick any vehicle to be my first vehicle, I mean, I kind of can't ask for a better one because it challenged me. But I would have probably picked his 1969 Stingray Corvette because after we got done working on that thing and rebuilding it, that it was a beast. It was so awesome. It was bright yellow with a black stripe. In fact, he still has it. I think he has like 5 or 6 Corvettes now. But that's probably what I would have picked for my first vehicle if I could. There was no way my uncle was going to let me drive that in high school. No way. So, cool. in fact, we built that Corvette the year of the 50th anniversary for Corvette, so him and my aunt could drive it to the 50th anniversary party. I want to say like it was in Tennessee or something, but I don't remember. So
yeah, I have a friend who's into Corvettes. He's got a 69, a red one. and I just remember riding in it, and it would be so hot, especially in the summer. You could just feel the heat coming from the engine.
Well, so it really didn't bug me. Growing up in West Texas, the desert anyway, but I had no air conditioning in my truck, and that's the one thing it was so expensive to buy a new, like it was going to be a couple grand to put a new air conditioning system in it, and so I just rolled down the windows, whatever. But yeah, I had a heater in it, which was good during the winter time because the desert gets freaking cold in the winter. But so I was kind of used to having no air conditioner. Now I'm a baby. Like today, my kids wanted to roll down the windows. I'm like, no, roll them up. We got the air conditioner.
You let the air conditioner out.
Yeah, stop that.
Same here.
So, creature comforts, I guess, spoil you at some point so bad that I need air conditioning for the shop now.
See, at least your car had the option for air conditioning if you wanted to fix it. My first car came from Germany, and not made in Germany. It came from Germany. They had it shipped over from Germany, and there was no option for air conditioning there because they didn't need it.
What'd you drive?
A little Volkswagen Rabbit GTI hatchback.
Little Volkswagen Rabbit. Yeah.
Dude, that thing was actually fast for a 4-cylinder. It had a 5-speed standard tranny and
GTIs are pretty
an aluminum block. Yeah, it was a lightweight car.
So, all right.
Cool.
All right, let's see. Steve, we'll let you go first. Where do you find your inspiration and your drive for creativity?
Let's see. Usually it's stuff I see, just when I'm driving around or shopping or, watching TV or surfing the internet. A lot of times I'll see stuff that I just kind of like the design of it or the lines in a building or, the overall style or that kind of stuff and I'll kind of store it away in my brain. And when I go to do a project, if I'm going to design a bandsaw box or something, I'll think back to, I saw this building that had a cool roof on it, and maybe I could do a bandsaw box that kind of reflects, how that looked. Different stuff like that. So I'll see things that I just like the look of. But as far as I've entered a lot of contests and stuff and try to come up with wacky things that people haven't made before out of wood. And usually that's just brainstorming a list of ideas and then just picking one out and going for it,
Yeah.
But like some of the things I've done, like a Subway sandwich or a pizza out of a pallet, are centered around food, apparently.
Yeah. You got a sandwich and a pizza there, so.
Yeah. I just noticed that. But, yeah, I don't know. I just did that British phone booth for a phone charger thing. And it just so happened my wife was going to England for 3 weeks, and I knew she was going to be over there, so I thought I'd do a video that was kind of UK related.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people in the UK watch my videos because I exchange comments with them back and forth on YouTube. So I thought it'd be cool for them to see as well. So that's kind of how that idea came about. And so it's just different things. Sometimes it's topics in the news.
Like the deflated football.
Yeah. If there's some kind of topic going on in the news or whatever, and I could do a project like Carl Jacobson did the Pokemon ball project. Did y'all see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He made a Pokemon ball. When everybody was playing the Pokemon Go, he did that. So it's just things I see around. I store in my brain and try to retrieve it later if I can remember it.
I was about to say, your memory vault works better than mine. I can't remember the combination half the time.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how I am. I gotta start writing stuff down because I'm like, and then like a year and a half later, I was like, I was gonna build that thing, and then I forget.
Stored that in my brain somewhere.
Then I forget about that for like the next year and a half again. So.
Yeah, it helps to write it down or record things as you think of them. Like I have in my phone, I keep a running list of just ideas that I think of, here and there that I'd like to try someday. And
that's a good tip, though, because that's what I always do. If there's something that I see that catches my eye, I always take a picture of it.
Yeah.
See, I used to do that, and then I had just like hundreds of pictures, and I finally was like, all right, I'm just deleting everything because I'm never gonna get to it. And start over. So now I try to keep like the top 5 projects. Once I knock one of those off, then I'll allow myself to put another one on the list. It's just because it gets so long, and then I'm like, I don't know what to do, and then I can't. It's hard to prioritize. God, I can't talk. Prioritize.
Boy, I said boy.
Boy. So that's kind of how I do it, but I think most people are like you, Steve. They get inspiration from just kind of like their surroundings, kind of what they're exposed to. So, yeah. But it's kind of neat to kind of see how those projects come together through your eyes. Kind of figure out how you get those inspirations to build those, because you see the videos coming out and you're like, all right, well he's building this UK phone booth. Like, why? What inspired him to build that phone booth? And to be able to see that is pretty cool.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, Drew, you ready?
Sure.
All right. What? Kind of a 2-part question. What are you afraid of in life, and what are you afraid of in the shop?
Let's see. Snakes.
Tornadoes.
I'm not really afraid of tornadoes. Let's see. Afraid of in life. Well, I guess before I had kids and before I had a family, I really didn't have that much fear about life. I guess just making money is all I could think about. But now that I've got kids and a wife, it's the just being afraid of failing. Because I want to do this whole YouTube thing full time, and I've had 2 opportunities that have kind of just slipped through my fingers. One just, I don't know. I always look back at it and just say, God, I was so close, and I just felt like I failed and let down my family and myself. But after thinking about it for a little bit, it just wasn't failure. It was just an opportunity for something else to come along. So just being patient to wait on that something. The failure in my shop, or not failure, but being afraid in the shop. I guess that could probably be a tool.
I mean, it could be a tool. It could be maybe something like you're hesitant, like a new technique to try.
I will say that when I attempt a new technique of something, even like these joint videos, if it's something I've never tried before, I am leery about starting it because I don't know how long it's going to take for me to finish it, since I've never ever done it before. Projects that, like this gun case that I talked about, doing the engraving and epoxy filling and all that stuff, I'm afraid of investing so much time into something that may turn out to be crap when I'm done. I don't want it to be an ashtray when I'm done. And I think you kind of had that feeling with your that table or what was that you.
The sofa table?
The sofa table, yeah. You poured so much effort and time into it, and then you ended up recycling it.
Yeah, and it's still you know, if I give myself time to dwell on it, it still eats at me. Just because it's like I've never really had a failure like that in the shop, like something that was so unrecoverable. So I mean, I get it. That's failure in the shop's a big one for me. Like failing on a project and not being able to recover from it is real big. So.
Right. I will say that the one thing outside of the shop that whenever I was younger and doing Taekwondo, my fear was breaking a concrete block as part of my black belt test. That's one thing I always feared. I didn't know how hard that was going to be. Unfortunately, the tester for the black belts, which we had to fly in from Hong Kong, I had to wait like 4 different tests in order to have the opportunity to fly him out. And we had to kind of pay some money for him to come out. And he never was able to come, so I never did get to test for it. So I made it all the way to the very end, but never got to finish. And that's kind of eat away at me since I had to stop.
You ever thought about going back to it?
I don't know if I could have the flexibility to go back to it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm too old now.
I know I could probably have the athletic ability still to do it, but because I can still kick way above my head, but the stamina and doing all the stuff that I remember doing, I don't know if I could keep doing it without hurting myself.
That's what happens in old age. I tell myself that every single day. I'm not 21 anymore. All right. So that's kind of cool. I mean, I enjoy getting outside the norm and finding a little more out about you two. So
yeah, we're enigmas.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do product recommendation. What is something that you want to recommend, Steve?
Well, one of the scroll saw projects I just finished was a clock, and I used a 2 3/4 inch clock insert that I got from Hobby Lobby. And if you use they usually have 40% off coupon on their website or in their phone app. So, you know, if you want to make a clock, it's a good way to get an inexpensive clock insert, especially if you use that coupon. But you can pretty much cut any shape out of wood, and I think it's a 2 3/8 inch hole that you have to cut, and then just slide that clock in there, and it looks fantastic. So,
yeah, I use that 40% off coupon to get the clock insert for my 2x4 clock. Do you remember that? The Bode 2x4 clock.
I do.
Yeah. That coupon I always keep handy when I walk into Hobby Lobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, like Michael's does the same thing, and Joanne's Crafts does the same thing. So every time I'm going one, I'm like kind of shopping around. All right, who's got the best price? Because at least on like Joanne's, their 40% off will still work on things that are on sale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hobby Lobby won't do that, I don't think.
No, neither does Michael's, but it's kind of let down because they're in Houston. I had a huge Joanne's Crafts. I mean, it was twice the size of my Michael's and my Hobby Lobby. Here, Hobby Lobby is probably the biggest one I have. So, all right, Drew, what do you got?
Whenever I go to Home Depot or Lowe's to get wood, and I'm getting a lot of sheet goods, I tend to take my sheet goods carrier, just a simple plastic carrier that allows me to be able to pick up sheet goods without having to really stretch and grip the wood just with my bare hands just to get it up into the cart. So I always take my sheet good carrier to help me unload them off of the stack for one, and then flip them up onto their side and then pick them up to carry them to the cart. So If you guys have never used a sheet goods carrier, it will save your life when you go to get plywood from a big box store. And they're not very expensive. I think they're like, I don't know, $10 maybe. It's just a really thick, like a polymer plastic. It's very lightweight, easy to carry around.
Yeah, I've seen them quite a bit, and I think like Gorilla makes like their Gorilla Grip sheet good carrier, stuff like that. And I always tell myself I need to get one of those, and never do.
It also helps in the shop because when I go to unload it from the truck and I want to bring it over to the table saw, I use it to help me stretch across the wood to lay it down on its side. So it comes in handy more ways than one.
I will definitely have to check it out. So you need to stop recommending things because you recommend things and I go buy them. Like your Ryobi miter saw.
Yeah.
Got that in my shop this week. Picked up that in the stand. So
well, I can't help it if I am very inspirational.
If you're a good salesman. So, all right. I am going to recommend something. Drew already called it lame, but I sat down at my desk and, I've gone through a variety of products as expensive as my new computer all the way to like a email client service. And I wanted to rein it in this week and determine what do I use the most? Like, what's something that I use every day, every single day? So I determined it was my truck. I'm going to recommend Toyota Tundra. No, I'm just joking.
No, you can't go back on it.
Yeah, I'm just joking. I would get so much grief if I said a truck. No, I'm going to recommend a Sharpie pen, the Fine Point Sharpie pen. It's so versatile. I use it to sign my work, and it doesn't bleed like a regular Sharpie marker does. And then I can turn around and use it on the paper. I throw it in my pocket. I have it everywhere I go. It is probably my go-to pen. In fact, this is the longest time I've carried the same pen. And I've been carrying Sharpie pens now for almost 2 years. And I don't see myself changing. And it's quite funny because I make pens, and I still like my Sharpie pen better than anything I've made. So,
here's a question. Since you carried this marker pen for so long, have you ever left it in your clothes and washed it?
No, I have not. Knock on wood. So
do those come in different colors?
They do. So I have blue here. I got some black here in my desk. But you can get them, like, they got pastel colors. They got like red, green. They got, like your darker traditional colors. But then they come in packs, I think, of pastel colors as well. So
yeah, I've got some walnut that I'm going to be using in the project pretty soon. I know
they make a gold and a silver one as well.
Yeah, if there's silver or gold, or I know people use white pencils on walnut, so I was going to look for that, but just need something that will mark walnut so you can see it.
Yeah, I would have to really dig in and look. I know. So what I've used for my darker wood is just like a silver Sharpie marker. But then again, it bleeds in the wood fibers, and your line's not very crisp. So
yeah,
it's my go-to thing. I carry it so it's not lame, Drew. I use it every day.
I'll be able to afford to go buy that one. So
yeah,
I'm glad you recommended that. I'll go pick one of those up.
Yeah,
but the truck, you can't do the truck. I can't pick that up.
Is that Sharpie what you use to write in your planner?
Absolutely. In fact, Drew's going to mock me again. I've been thinking about. In fact, the link I have in the show notes is for the multi-pack of the different colors. I'm thinking about picking up the pack of different colors for the book. I can't. I think I start thinking about it, but then I go back and I'm not really sure. Like, what would be a different color? Like, would the podcast stuff be a different color? Would, like, days I release an article be a different? I don't know. I hadn't quite figured it out. And then, like, how many different colors? Because then I got to keep up with like half a dozen markers, and that now you're just getting too complicated. But I don't know. I may end up doing it. I didn't think I was going to have a planner. I didn't think Drew was going to have a planner.
Well, Sam's probably thinking, I didn't think Jeremy was going to do colors.
I haven't done them yet. So, and to go ahead and answer the question that everybody's going to ask, is the table going to be done by the end of the month? I'm trying.
That doesn't answer the question.
It doesn't. And it we were talking about failures a while ago, and it's been bugging me the last like week. But since I've moved to South Carolina, I'm ready to move. I like pack my stuff and move. We've been hit by so many tropical storms this season. It's for the last week and a half, it's done nothing but rain every single day. So essentially, and I don't have any room in my shop to work because everything's still kind of just stuck in there because I don't have cabinets or anything. I'm doing most of my stuff outside. Can't do anything outside when it's raining. So we're attempting to have this table done, but I may fault on the October 1st deadline. But it will still
I told you it was going to be Christmas, right?
It will be before Christmas.
Yeah.
It will be before Christmas.
I heard October 1st, too, and I don't think that's happening either.
Yeah. We'll see. That's what, a week, 2 weeks away, week and a half away? Right? When's October 1st? It's a week and a half away.
A week and a half, yeah.
So 10 days. We'll see. So...
Still got to set food on there, and you can't use cardboard.
True. All right. Well,
oh, Lord.
If you guys would like to support the show, you can head over to www.woodshop101podcast.com/listen. Find the show notes for today's episode, and there will be links for small one-time donations and links for recurring donations, and every little bit helps. And if you don't want to donate or can't donate, we highly encourage you to go to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating, because that helps us reach more people. It gets us ranked, and it definitely gets us on like the trending. So definitely go over, leave us a 5-star rating.
We like to be trendy.
We do like to be trendy.
And also, if you guys would like to get in contact with us, we have a few different ways, but the easiest is probably to go to our website, which is woodshop101podcast.com/listen. There you'll be able to stream all of our episodes and find contact information to send us an email, which is woodshop101podcast@gmail.com. Each of us also have our own website with contact information that you can fill out and send us questions. And if you have a question that you want featured on the show, email is the best way, along with our voicemail. So just go to each one of our websites, which is the carmichaelworkshop.com for Steve, rhwoodshop.com for myself, and Jeremy is the countrysideworkshop.com. And each of us have the contact information there. Just fill it out, send it to us, and also we will tend to take those questions and put them on air here on the podcast as well. So be sure and check that out. If you want to leave a voicemail and hear yourself on air and have your question answered, you can leave us that through the phone number of 409-234-3959. And if you act now, we'll throw in a gift basket. Jeremy will put it together himself.
It might take a couple years.
Yeah. So I really like this episode. I thought it was good to get to know each other on a little more personal level outside of the woodworking arena. And Steve, we've had a blast having you this week and last week and the week before last.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Thanks for having me, guys. And yeah, it was fun learning a little bit different things about each other tonight.
All right. Well, from Jeremy, Steve, and myself, we want to wish you guys well. Be safe in your shops, and we will see you on the next podcast. So 1, 2, 3. Boom!